simple gesture, she seized him, causing him to writhe in pain as his helmet twisted and crushed his head. Just as Magneto was on the verge of collapse, Jean shattered his helmet and sent him flying with a powerful blast. At that moment, Nightcrawler burst in, carrying Professor X. The professor tried to reach Jean, who had succumbed to her dark side, but she immediately knocked Nightcrawler away. Professor X shouted for her to stop, but his attention was quickly drawn to a blonde woman, Julie. He instantly recognized her as an alien and warned Jean to stay away. Jean ignored him and instead used her powers to force the paralyzed professor to rise from his wheelchair and walk up the stairs. Under Jean's control, Professor X reached the second floor. Hoping to bring Jean back to herself, he dropped his psychic defenses and allowed her to read his thoughts. Jean saw the care and dedication the professor had shown her since childhood and finally understood his intentions. Just as Professor X was about to collapse, Jean shed a tear and regained her sanity. The professor was freed from her control and collapsed to the ground. Suddenly, a special ops team arrived and surrounded the mutants. Julie approached Jean, trying to manipulate her into killing them all, but Jean refused, saying she didn't want this power and asked Julie to take it away. Julie agreed, and Jean released the Phoenix Force, which Julie absorbed. However, Professor X noticed cracks forming on Jean's face. She was dying. At that critical moment, Cyclops arrived and blasted Julie away with his laser beam. The special ops team quickly seized Professor X and Cyclops. All the mutants present were captured and fitted with collars that suppressed their powers. Meanwhile, Julie regained consciousness and discovered the mutants had been taken. Determined to claim the remaining Phoenix Force inside Jean, she ordered her forces to intercept the train. Soon, the train was ambushed by aliens. The soldiers used specialized weapons, but they were ineffective. The aliens quickly overwhelmed them. Magneto urged the captain to release the mutants, insisting the soldiers were no match for the invaders. Just then, the train doors shook violently. The captain ordered his men to aim at the door, which was soon smashed open. The soldiers opened fire, but the bullets had no effect. To their shock, the aliens began to regenerate instantly. Realizing they were outmatched, one soldier hit a switch that unlocked the mutants' restraints. The mutants sprang into action. Magneto sealed the alien leader behind a wall of metal. These charged forward, using brute strength to overpower two aliens. Storm soared to the roof of the train, unleashing a massive lightning strike that devastated the aliens outside. As the mutants battled the aliens, Julie tore through the doors and found Jean. Now fully awakened with the Phoenix Force, Jean casually flung Julie away with a wave of her hand. The entire train began to levitate and spin in midair, transforming into a massive meat grinder that shredded the aliens. The mutants were shielded by a protective energy field. Eventually, the train crashed back to the ground with a thunderous impact. To everyone's surprise, Julie survived. She crept up behind Jean and grabbed her by the throat, trying to forcibly absorb the Phoenix Force. But the overwhelming energy surged into her body, and she couldn't handle it. As she tried to retreat, Jean grabbed her and unleashed the full power of the Phoenix. Nearby mutants began to disintegrate, unable to withstand the energy. To protect Earth and her loved ones, Jean flew into space with Julie. There, she pushed the Phoenix Force to its absolute limit. Julie was consumed by the immense power, reduced to ashes. But Jean paid the ultimate price, sacrificing her life to save them all.